ultimately, after you do that, what's the next step that you took?
Well, we had to identify that that was the actual correct phone. It was in the right place, but we still needed to get it to our headquarters and download it. We had the phone there. We made a call to 911 from that phone in order to see what the identification number was to try to verify so we weren't just taking random phones. It did come back to Jarvis Butts' phone number that we were looking for. The phone was then placed on evidence and taken to our base.
And what's the next thing that you did after that?
So after that, the phone now is getting processed under the search warrant. It is given to, was given to Detective Markle, where she processed that. We then continued, we had searched the residence on Wilshire, we had searched Neff, we also executed a search warrant at 9000 Connor.
And what's 9000 Collar?
9000 Connor is the location that was identified that Jarvis Butts worked at with his shop partner.
And did you find anything or anything at 9000 Connor?
We did take some things as evidence. There was a lot of activity going on, so I had multiple different units from within our homicide squad assisting me with different search warrants that we were executing. I believe it was the Northeast squad actually executed the Connor location search warrant. They were advised of some items to look for, obviously children's clothing. We had been given a description of a Rugrats jacket with a fur hood. We were given the clothing description. At that time, we were told that the shoes were possibly blue and white Nike shoes that we had been looking for. There was an area in the shop, as I review the evidence, photos where there's like children's coloring books and maybe things that when the children are there that they're using.
Were any interviews besides the one with Cordell Wright taking place at this time?
So at that time, I had interviewed, when we went to Wilshire, we had interviewed the woman that he lives with. I don't know if that's a fiance or a girlfriend, but that was Miss Angel. We interviewed her there. Tashiana was in the hospital when we had executed the search warrant at her house. I had had a conversation with her on the phone while we were there. Her children were there. I scheduled an interview for her later. I believe it might have been like the next day or two later that she came down to headquarters. We had interviewed Cordell at that time, and now we're just kind of going through everything that we had at that moment to try to take the next steps.
Okay. When about is Mr. Butts interviewed for the first time?
So he was interviewed, we got it, looked at it on the 12th, the 13th, we executed all the search warrants. On the 14th, Mr. Butts, I believe it was the 14th, he was brought down to headquarters, or the 15th. I would have to look.
Okay. And that's okay. So it would be just a couple days after you get the case?
Yes.
Okay. Now, based on Mr. Butts' first interview, which your Detective Mays here to testify about, did you do anything based off of that interview?
So based on that interview, we had obtained the text now, which was turned over to us from DPS, which was the initial, I believe it was like maybe 1 week's worth of text now, so like the very end of December into the 1st of January. So during that interview was when it was asked by Detective Mays and Detective Johnson regarding the text message about meeting to be picked up.
Now, if you know, can you estimate about how many search warrants did you execute?
Probably over 20. Throughout the entire, it has to be over 20.
And what kind of searches were done in this case in general?
So we searched, as far as like land searches,
All kinds.
all kinds. Well, we searched Ypsilanti. as we did our workup and we're looking at different locations that Mr. Butts had been to, we identified an area out in Clinton Township that he had gone out to back and forth before. And that was an area that Shannon Harris, his child's mother, had lived at. So this was kind of like a route out there, and we located, there was like a big retention pond out there. So that was another place that we had dive teams come out. We had the helicopter, the cadaver dogs, and we searched out in Clinton Township. As we start breaking down the phone mapping a little bit more on Mr. Butts' phone, it kind of led us to 7 Mile and Berg.
What's out in 7 Mile and Berg?
So 7 Mile and Berg, there is a vacant parking lot on the southwest corner. It used to be a golf course. So the entire south side of 7 Mile, from Berg, and then heading back east, used to be a golf course, which is now shut down. And then on the other side of Berg, there's a parking lot where it has like a vacant building, which used to be the clubhouse for the golf club. And then right behind that parking lot is the Rouge River.
And when's the first time that you get out to 7 Mile and Berg?
We went out once. It was probably maybe a couple weeks later that we went out there. We went out there once, and I remember it had snowed. So when we went out there, it wasn't as easy to search. We're kind of looking if somebody was just placed out there or if something was easily identifiable, but because of the snow, we knew that we were going to have to come back again once that melted because it'd be easier to see underneath.
Okay. And so do you go out there again?
Yeah, we've been out there multiple times. I've probably been out there 7, 8 times, all with various dive teams. We searched the complete river from 8 Mile all the way down past 96 on foot with cadaver dogs, in boats, in the water. There's several log jams. We had state police actually had their helicopter fly the entire route so we could GPS all the log jams. We had to coordinate with specialized teams to come in to help cut these log jams apart, which